Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It is Sunday evening, which of course means match day review showtime. And for the first time in what seems like eternity, no, I'm not talking about Rhys coming back because he's missed the last couple due to illness and then FA Cup not being shown in Germany. We are talking about a Gillingham victory and 3 points Saturday, which is great. Rhys, welcome back. You picked a good couple of weeks to have off. I missed the Swindon weekend as well due to a wedding anniversary. So it's been a long 6 or 7 weeks since we went to the top of the league on the 28th of September. We now sit here on the 10th of November and we're back in playoff contention.
Yeah, seems like it does. That actually genuinely seems almost like a lifetime ago, top of the league. But yeah, it's great to be.
There was a thing called the sun in the sky still then at the moment.
Yeah.
I've not seen that for weeks. I don't know whether that's just generally because of the mood around football or just because of the fact that we are approaching winter time now. But yeah, it does seem like a long time. But the winless run is over. We are back on track, in inverted commas. We'll go back to team news. That's where we normally start. We're going to do this slightly different today. I mean, there's not much of a timeline to get through anyway. Such was the nature of the game. But Gills lined up in a 3-4-1-2 formation. It was Jake Turner recording goal, and then it was Masterson, Amer and Ogie as a trio. In front of that, the wing-backs were Mo Hutton and Max Clark. It was a midfield pairing of Amani Little and Ewan Williams. And Timmy Dieng was tasked with supporting a front two of Jacob Wakelin and Marcus Wiley. Port Vale, our opponents, lined up in exactly the same system. It was Ripley in goal, Deborah, Hennigan and Hall as a back three. And then it was Cover, Sang, Crosdale and Grant with Richards and Curtis supporting Stockley. Rhys, I put down, by no means was it a game for the purists, but given the comparative form of the two sides before kickoff, we deserve credit for making the league leaders look very ordinary and then being brave enough to go on and win a football match rather than just trying to not lose it.
I think that's pretty accurate. I described it yesterday to myself as like a members game. Like it's not one you're gonna, if you could watch again and invite a friend to watch, it's not one they're going to come back to. It's definitely one for the season tickets and the patrons because the result was more important than the performance, it seems, at the end of the day.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we use the adage, don't we? It was, again, if it was a film, it goes straight to DVD. No one's going to the cinema to pay good money to sit and watch that for a couple of hours because it was not a great game. We're not going to sit here and pretend otherwise, but after the run we've been on and the run that they were on, like you say, it was probably all about just finding a way to get ourselves over the line, which we did. So if we're going to criticise the boys for not getting over the line in the Swindon game, then I think at the same time, knowing that it wasn't a perfect performance and there's still plenty to improve on, we do have to give them credit for finding a way to make a team that, let's be honest, have not lost since the end of August in the league. So they're a good side. Like, we're not sitting here and saying we've just beaten a team in and around us. This is a side that's been on an unbelievably good run. So we have to give the boys credit, and Mark Bonner and the coaching staff as well.
100%. And also what we've done by beating Vale yesterday, we've stopped them in the early onset or third way through the season now. You don't like a team to start looking like they're running away with it. And I think if Vale won yesterday, the league would have been them a bit of a gap between first and second to a certain extent.
They'd have gone 5 points clear, wouldn't they? Albeit Walsall would have had a game in hand. Yeah, no, it'd been 6 points. If they'd won, they'd have gone 6 points clear at the top. They're on 30, Walsall second with 27, albeit one game less. So yeah.
I think we just shorten that. Yeah, we just shorten that void slightly, and I think it just creates that league to competitive nature again. I mean, so it's never, you always, one team can just run away with it, but actually if you keep it tight at the top, anything's still possible, and it means there's a lot of chances for everyone moving forward. But yeah, but like you say, they've been on a good run of form. We're not on a good run of form, so it was a very Gillsy game to go out and win, actually.
Absolutely, it was. And you talk about that competitive nature. If we don't win that, where draw drops us down from 8th, which is where we sit back down to 12th.
Yeah, mid-table.
So a draw or a defeat meant we'd have been back into where we were at kickoff essentially. But because of that goal from Jaden Clark near the end, it jumps us right back into it, and suddenly we're just a point outside the playoff zone. And dare I say it quietly, we're only 4 points off the automatic places. So, crisis, what crisis?
Yeah.
Right, first half. I think I've said it every week. I certainly say it to Boz in the ground. I've said it to you. I thought the intensity was fine. We seem to start with this real intent to press and try and get in the face of opposition. And we've mentioned early goals in games throughout the season so far, albeit not so much in recent weeks. But I thought we were really good. We didn't allow them to settle and dominate the ball because I think we'd have just played into their hands if we tried to do that. I thought the front five, in inverted commas, which was for me was Little, Williams, Dieng and Wiley and Wakelin. I thought they pressed really high. They tried to stop the centre halves playing out, which forced them to go long into their front man, which was Jaden Stockley, which you'd back our three centre halves to compete in the air 3-against-1, certainly, and keep him at arm's length. But yeah, I thought in terms of the intent and the mindset at the start of the game, I thought was really good, albeit there wasn't loads of quality.
No, if the last point you make there, which is there wasn't much quality, but actually, if you have enough intensity in the game, you can still make an impact and sort of like usher people out of game, usher teams out of games. And I thought with our intensity at the start, I mean, again, we're kicking the rain of men for the first half, which is always seems to be our.
Maxima, keep losing the toss, mate.
but actually, I think we said this before. If we're at home, we have to play like the home team, and if that means putting a lot of intensity, the front five on Vale yesterday, and we did that actually, and we were the ones I thought were in the driving seat. We were controlling what was happening, albeit the quality wasn't good enough to actually make much happen. We were controlling most of that half, actually, at least. So but it was just the lack of quality for me for that first half was really compelling. It was.
What I remember from the first half was a lot of players slipping over because I kept saying, change your boots,
yes.
change your boots. But that was both sides. There was a lot of team players just giving the ball away cheaply. Centre halves taking too many touches, kicking it out of play. I thought Conor Masterson did it a couple of times for us. Their lad Deborah did it a few times for them because I kept saying, just get on him, get on him. He's the one the one you've got to press because he's the one that keeps wanting to take a chance.
But also, like throughout that first half as well, there were lots of like not passes that were complete, but were just like, if you were bowling in cricket, it might be the umpire decide if it's a wide or not. It was just.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean? It just felt a little like the first touch, like we're getting a few first touches yesterday from Owie and even from Hutton to a certain extent. Like it was just they're fine, but they weren't the best first touches. They could still complete the phases of play, but it just felt a little bit nitty gritty, a bit scrappy, and it like not everyone was on par, but was doing enough to control it. It was a really. I think it was a terrible advert for League Two football because we know it can be better quality, but it's also exposed how like poor quality it could be as well. But I think what yesterday managed to do.
I think we said it was like hot potato. People treating the ball like a bomb. It was like, I've got to get rid of it. I don't want it anywhere near, or pass the parcel.
Yeah, exactly.
Just get rid of it. I don't want it.
Get rid of it. I don't want it.
Music stops. Yeah, that type of thing. So, best chance did fall to us though. First half. And it was actually a decent bit of play that we put together. I think it was Jacob Wakeling and Marcus Wiley linked up down the right-hand side. Great cutback from Wiley. Wakeling made his way back into the box along with Amani Little, who just needs to get any type of touch. And you can see him, he's stretching and straining and trying to get there. I did question it at the time whether I thought he could have done better. He collided with the keeper, but any type of touch and we go 1-0 up after about 10 minutes, don't we?
Absolutely, and it's a good run from Wiley down the right hand side as well. Cuts inside, and he does everything right. You play the percentages there, don't you? You put the ball into a dangerous area and just with a bit of pace and hope one of your colleagues is running with a little bit of pace or a little bit of power just to knock it in the back of the net. It just didn't quite work, unfortunately. But like that kind of intent was really nice to see at the start of the game, and I just wish I mean, we did come out victors, but I often think we do seem to. I wish we converted a lot more of those this season, right? We get into those positions and it seems to be not even like just that final third bit, just like little nick, the little touch, I don't know what it is, but we seem to create a lot of opportunities going forward, but then it's just that very final bit, we just trip ourselves over. I'm not saying that specific chance yesterday was that, but I do wish we'd convert a lot more of those than we have done this season and previous seasons, to be fair. But yeah, it showed good intent, and it was probably the best chance for us at half.
Yeah, and theirs was exactly the same. I think shortly after, I think Jayden Stockley got away down the right-hand side and played essentially the same ball across the box. But luckily for us, it's Jayden Stockley that Vale want on the end of the cross, and he wasn't there because he'd vacated that area to go to deliver the ball himself, and it went out, I think, for a throw-in on the far. We hacked it clear. We had to make a change. Amani Little went down. Looks like another muscle strain. It's just never ended, isn't it? Like we cannot. This 2-week break cannot come quick enough, and then another blank at the end of the month. So fingers crossed by December we'll have a few players back because it just seems to be like a revolving door. So Ethan Coleman came on for Amani Little after about 25 minutes. Apart from that, there wasn't else much in the first half. I think they had a penalty shout. I'm going to ask your view on it because it was down the other end. I've seen the replay. For me, it looks like Ronan Curtis, who, to be honest, I thought had chucked himself onto the floor plenty of times. He's the very definition of a player that you hate watching when he plays against you, but you'd probably love him if he's in your team because he's got quality. But I think I just said on the match day live, I just said he just comes across as a bit of a knob.
Yeah. You're not.
So what was your view on the?
It's a really at full pace. You could understand if the ref gives that penalty. You could understand it because, but in the same merit, it's this. I think he's looking for it too much. You know, and I think that alone is, as a result of that, I think if you're looking for it for too much, sometimes that can give a little bit of doubt in the referee's mind whether actually you've maybe gone into Turner more than Turner's gone into you. And I know Vale fans will be screaming at this, going absolutely 100% stonewall penalty. But I think if you're a Gills fan,
we always flip it. So we say if it was, say that was Marcus Wiley and he's clipped by Ripley, we're probably screaming penalty.
Yeah,
but it looked to me like Curtis was dangling the leg towards Turner rather than Turner's come out and wiped him out.
Which is why, like, when I put my tweet out yesterday and I showed the slow-mo replay of it, you know, I wanted people to have that as a viewpoint or as a perspective to go kind of like, oh yeah, I think if you're a Vale fan, you go, it's cast iron penalty. If you're a Gills fan, you go, well, not sure. Look, he's looking for it. And if you're a neutral, I think you're probably one foot in one cap, one foot in the other. It's one of those 50-50 ones. And I think what's more important here, we can talk about whether it was and whether it wasn't a penalty, but actually the fact that a decision went our way was quite nice. And
also the fact if you're having to slow down and zoom in on a shot of it, that would say to me there has to be enough doubt in the referee's mind without slowing it down, without zooming in, to not be able to give it because he's not 100% sure.
Absolutely. And then it compounds the idea that we don't want VAR in this division as well.
Absolutely agree with that. I'll beat that drum until I'm blue in the face.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that was it for the first half. It wasn't much of a spectacle that we've already said, so we shall zoom through half-time. There was goals at half-time. I think I said on the match day live, we was enjoying the kids' penalty shootout because there was
I heard that.
Yeah, we like that. We get treated in the Raynham end at half-time at the moment. Loads of goals, loads of really good celebrations as well, which is great to see. We've had CR celebrations in recent weeks. We've had Cole Palmer's. This one is great that the kids are out there having a great time at half time, and fingers crossed they keep coming back.
And for what it's worth, it actually goes to say that off the pitch, it seems to be going well at Gillingham at the moment. You know, with all this stuff. If the half-time entertainment was more entertaining in the first half of the game, you know.
Well, I did say at some point I'm considering recording the half-time penalty shootout and just using that as a match day live at some points. But we joke. Second half was pretty much the same as the first in terms of pattern. Both sides working hard, I've written down, and trying to win a football match, but there was very little fluency, very little quality. Again, the same word. It was just very much huff and puff, wasn't it, from both sides?
It was. It was like, it felt a lot like, do you know, you get those football pitches in the 70s that were just caked with mud. It felt a little as heavy as that a lot of the time. It felt like that's what we were watching, but on a nice green surface. It just felt trudgy. It felt bitty. There was no flow whatsoever, and it was very scrappy. And I suppose I mean the stall was set obviously because there was no change in the second half. It's like, okay, we have one of these games, do we, for the entirety of this 90 minutes? Fine. So it's either going to be 0-0. Someone's going to score an absolute belter, or it's going to be a real scrappy goal if there's going to be anything in this game.
Literally what I said to Stocky after about 15 minutes that second half. I said, this game is finishing this way. I said, either that or someone's going to whack one in the top corner from 30 yards, or someone's going to trip over and it's going to go in off their own arse into their own net. Because there was no way it was going to be anything else but that yesterday. Then there was a chance. And it's by far the best chance of the game. And Jayden Stockley simply has to score.
100%.
Like, I think Ryan Crowsdale escapes down our right back area, so they're left. I think Masterson and Amar get attracted to the ball slightly. So Jayden Stockley's got the freedom of the Raynham end. He's got no one within 6 yards of him in the 6-yard box. For all the world, you're just expecting the net to report and here we go again. But somehow he manages, in fairness to Jayden Stockley, it's probably harder to get it wide of that far post from where he is than to actually put it in the net. So that's a skill in itself, but he simply has to put it in the back of the goal, doesn't he?
Absolutely. And I'm watching it and I'm almost commentating going, and Vale have scored. Like it's like it feels like that. But I want to take it back maybe one step further back. And because I think it initially came I think it initially came from a poor goal kick or clearance from Turner. And I'm not having to go at Turner for that, but actually the only player he could like spin it out to was Dieng, and it just didn't quite work. And as a result, the flow of play after that meant that everyone was a little bit on the back foot, trying to get back into their positions and a bit all over the place. It's why there was all that freedom of the Rainier to make this chance happen, and it just exposed for me a little bit of like, we were pumping quite a few long balls in the air, and I don't really think we had that personnel for a lot of that game to be able to make something with that to release Wakeling or Wiley. I mean, later on we made a sub where we're able to do a little bit more of that. But yeah, just to go back to the original chance, Stockley should be. I mean, it's what he's there to do, isn't it?
He's their top scorer, yeah, and he's one of the best in the division. He's done it for years at League One level. I genuinely couldn't believe it. Like you, I sort of panned across, and I was filming it, and because I was so convinced it weren't going to go in, I sort of forgot to move the camera, so I got stuck on the near post, and then was like, "Oh, that's gone wide." So I didn't put the clip in because I've missed the miss. Essentially, my camera work was as good as Jayden Stockley's finish. but also back to your point about not having the personnel to do that and go direct. I think we did have the personnel, but I just thought Timmy Dieng was sometimes in the wrong position because he kept drifting sort of wide to the right-hand side. I think if he'd stayed central in between the front two, then any flick-ons, they can run in and stretch it. But because he kept moving sort of left and right, he was either heading it out of play or Port Vale were easily dealing with it, because if he's got himself to the touchline, he can only head it in one direction, and then it's easier to defend against.
That's true. You make a good point. He should have more of a rigid role if we're going to be doing that rather than the fluid role, because then you have a lot more space around you to make these flick-ons, and it makes it easier for people to make those run-ins behind you. But yeah, and I suppose if you're moving around a lot as well, it makes it hard for a goalkeeper to pick you out as well, because you've got to look for him, and then under the speed of play, that makes it very challenging. Yeah, that's actually a very fair point.
And also, he can be rigid, like you say, because in a system where you're playing three centre-backs, surely one of your wing-backs should be getting on, because you've got the protection of three centre-backs and still two central midfielders. So for me, if Timmy Dieng goes one way, then one of your wing-backs has got to get on as well, so that he can stay central.
Yes, exactly.
It all just felt like, I think I said a couple of times, I said, Dieng's gone right again. I said, and then Hutton's not pushing on. And Hutton's probably our best deliverer of a cross.
Yeah.
Albeit fleetingly at the moment, because we've not been in good form collectively. But it just felt like we used to say last season, when Mahoney started playing out there with him at first and Hutton, it was almost like they both wanted to be in the same spaces. And it felt like that was happening yesterday. And Hutton just went, you know what, I'm just going to drop off. But then his crosses are coming in from the same angle all the time. They're that sort of loopy one to the back post, which again, defenders like Hennigan, Deborah, and the other centre-half, Hall, I think, is it Hall?
Yeah.
I mean, they're all big blokes. They're comfortable heading it out of the sky.
Yeah, and isn't it indicative though, as well, like a team that has to change and chop up so often, you lose the chemistry, or you can't develop any chemistry, so people start to play more individualistic, and as a result of that, it's hard to make those intuitive runs and get in behind, and I think that's what our injury crisis has sort of exposed, is that we can't build chemistry consistently, and as a result, we get a few players trying to do things and people not react intuitively with each other, which is the definition of football chemistry, I suppose. But
and we played a different system for the last 3 games as well, so there's that to add to it. So yeah, so maybe we're being a bit harsh in that sense, that they are trying to learn the way to play now, in the sense that we played a back 3/back 5 for Swindon, Blackpool, and yesterday. So, but yeah, it just felt it wouldn't have taken a lot of change in terms of where people were stationed on the pitch to get us higher up quicker and to be able to get into better positions. But it didn't matter too much in the end. We're padding this out, haven't we?
I was about to say, we've really over-egged Stockley's miss there. Like...
Talking to Jayden Stockley, and kudos to our defensive line and our defensive shape and our defensive work. He was taken off shortly after, along with Ronan Curtis, who I think, again, I'm not just saying this, they're two of the best at the level. They're proven have done it. Stockley done it at Charlton in League One. Curtis has done it League Two, League One for years for Portsmouth until a knee injury. So fair play to us. They were taken off and replaced. We reacted, I think, pretty much immediately. It might have been done in the same time. Was Marcus Wiley was withdrawn, so was Ewan Williams. He was replaced by his namesake Johnny and Jaden Clark. Because we were sat there and we thought, oh, change of shape, bringing on a winger. But Bonner went, no, you're just going to go and play up front. So there was no change to shape. Jaden went and played as an orthodox centre forward, which worked.
Did at the end, of
course. We wasn't sure at the end, yeah. And then a couple of minutes later, I think it was our last chance to make changes. Josh Andrews and Jack Nolan came on for Jacob Wakeling and Timmy Dieng. So again, no change to the shape. Straight swaps. Jack Nolan goes in as that different type of 10. which is fine then, because like you said, we made the change. Josh Andrews is the focal point. He's the one that's going to hold it up, play with his back to goal a little bit. And then a goal came. A magical, mystical thing called a goal, which we don't seem to have scored a lot of in recent weeks. And we certainly need to improve on that if we're going to get into the top 7, the top 3. But it's a good goal.
Yeah.
And we talk about bravery and character, and we've spoken about that a lot more than we want to in recent weeks because it's been questioned. Jack Nolan, who's not been on the pitch long, and I think has probably, and he'd say it as well, has not been anywhere near his best, certainly in the last month or two, compared to where he was with Accrington. He can easily just leave that ball on the touchline and go, Hutton, Shadogi, come across and we'll lob it in, because that's all we've done all game and it's not worked. But Jack Nolan doesn't. He's aware, picks the ball up off the cone instead of waiting for the ball boy, notices that Connor Masterson's not being picked up in the right wing position, chucks it to him. Masterson does well, has a touch, looks up, puts in a good ball and says, right, go and attack it. I think Josh Andrews makes a good run to the near post, which takes one centre-half away. And then Jaden Clark's movement's really good. Goes from outside to in his centre-half and just gets there in front of him. I think it might have sort of hit the defender as he's headed it, because it seemed to take about 4 weeks to go in. But I thought it was a really good goal, like in terms of awareness and wanting to do stuff quickly, which we've criticised this team for not doing in recent weeks. I thought it was really good.
The thing that was going to change this game was a moment of something a little bit clever, a bit smart, sharp, a bit quicker than the other team, because the game was like missing that, wasn't it? And all it took was just Nolan to take that throw in quickly, because Vale were a second behind that. They were suddenly on the back foot. And then we just took the opportunity, got the master and put the ball in. It's a lovely ball. And also, like, you know, it's a textbook cross head and goal kind of thing, because Josh Andrews, like you say, runs the nibbles, takes a player out the game. And, you know, Jaden Clark isn't known for heading really. And I think it's Deborah he's heading against. And I think it clips his shoulder on the way through, which is why it slows it down and probably wrong foots Ripley. But nonetheless, like, it's just a well-worked goal that's played with a little bit of intensity, a little bit of purpose as well, rather than, you know, Hutton puts these beautiful balls in all the time and everyone can try and get on the end of it. But Masters one, it had some real purpose. This is going to you and you need to do something about it, Jaden. And he did. And he did it brilliantly. So for me, it was a textbook, quick cross goal, bang.
Yeah, it was. And I believe I read last night that Jaden Clark's £100 better off now, because Mark Bonner, the manager, had promised him £100 if he scores a goal with his head this season. So he said he's going into his office first thing Monday morning to pick up his reward.
Nice. I didn't know that. That's brilliant.
I wonder if the medical team are listening. If they can get people fit, maybe I'll give them £100. I jest. Yeah. I jest. I haven't got £100. Anyway,
yeah. Sorry.
After that, I think Vale chucked on another couple of strikers or attacking players. I think Deborah was one of the two to come off, and that was their last sort of roll of the dice to try and get back into the game. But I don't remember. I think there was like one sort of attempted bicycle kick that sort of harmlessly went out for a goal kick or flew wide, but I don't think Vale put us under any pressure. When you get to that situation and you're 1-0 up and you've not won for a month and a half and you're playing the league leaders, you put all that together and you think this is going to be like the Alamo last 10 minutes. It never materialised. I'd never felt like we were under the cosh.
Felt like it's something called game management, which we've been lacking the last month. And I think yesterday we showed that it is in our capabilities to have some form of game management. Like we were holding the ball in the corner for a bit. We were trying to, you know, just play in their half and just keep possession. And I thought, okay, maybe we didn't do that as Swindon at all, really. We were really poor for game management. And there's a couple of games previously exactly the same. At this time,
Accrington was exactly the same. Sat
another
off
one.
1-0. Yep.
But there's a moment, I think you got it on your match day live, and it's just Josh Andrews running to the away fans and wins a free kick. Like half a minute of the game to go.
Josh Andrews won 3 or 4 free kicks, I think, and he was on the pitch 10 minutes. That's what he brings, which is why it's so bloody frustrating, because even in 5 minutes against Blackpool last week, Rhys, he changes how we play.
Yeah, 100%.
He just, to me, seems similar to George Lapsley last season. I don't mean this with any disrespect to either, but it seems that they've had George last season had so many niggles, never big injuries. It was like, oh, play a game, miss 2 weeks, play 3 games, miss a month. Josh Andrews has been exactly the same. Like, plays a game, misses 2 weeks, or plays a couple of games and then he's out from. He's just got to get into that position where he trusts his body. And there was one point where I winced when he went down, and I thought, this is not going to look good again, is it? He's going to be out. And then he got up and then he had an impact again. And I said to Boz and Stocky, I said, he needs something like that. He's taken a whack. He thinks all this hurts, and then he's gone, actually, I'm all right. I think sometimes it does subconsciously get in a player's head. I think it was spoken about Daniel Sturridge years ago at Liverpool. And I get people have different pain thresholds and without being an expert, and I'm not trying to be an expert, but I just think he needs to trust his body again, Josh Andrews. And I think the medical team and Mark Bonner are managing it well. But my God, he makes a difference, doesn't he?
Huge difference. But you're right, though. Like, even you don't need to be an expert in this field to know, like, through just experience of life, that if something happens to you occasionally, it's always in the back of your mind, and therefore that can sometimes cloud your judgment, and sometimes also make you think something's worse than it actually is. And in Josh Andrews' case, it's he's been injured that's best on and off for the best part of a year, if not a bit more. Like, I get it. Like, if he goes down, the first thing he's probably thinking, "Oh my God, I'm probably injured," rather than going, someone who's a bit more confident, who's more injury free, just gets up and goes on with it and
runs it off.
I think, like you say, that maybe yesterday when he went down a couple of times, got back up, dusted himself down, will do him a load of good. And I'm sure if he can keep that going, like you said, the impact he has it just changes the shape slightly. It makes everyone. It's just so physical, but on top of that, can just keep the ball and make things happen. I mean, is it right to draw a parallel a little bit of Akinfenwa, maybe? Like, he just throws himself around, but he wins free kicks, and I thought when he came on yesterday, I just thought it just changed the game a little bit, and I felt much more confident up top when he got that ball, and it was just nice to see.
Wasn't it him that got fouled, that got Shea Dunkley sent off against Chesterfield earlier in the season in one of his cameos?
Oh wow,
a similar sort of run, I think it was. I'm sure it was him that ran into that sort of left-sided channel. But then that comes back to what you said about game management. We know they can do it, and that's why we get so bloody frustrated with this football team. Because if you go through the early part of the season, game management against Carlisle at 2-1 up, saw it out, Clinical scored 2 more. We've said this before. Morecambe, tight game, weren't at our best, found a way to win. Fleetwood, second best, dug in, got a point. Chesterfield, beaten with 10 men for half an hour. Tranmere scored 2 with 10 men. Notts County defended a lead with for 70 minutes, saw it out. Barrow never looks under any threat at 1-0 up, scored a good second to see the game out. It's been since then that we've really, really struggled. So it was great to get back to that yesterday. The clean sheet would do everyone good. I've got a few really bad headlines. I mean, like, if I ran a newspaper, no one would buy it because my headlines are shocking. A pressing issue. That's my first one after full time. It was discussed in our WhatsApp chat. There's got a few of us in after during the game and after the game, more because people were watching the football match, that only Armani Little was pressing the ball in the first half before he went off. And I thought that was very wide of the mark, to be fair. I thought that was doing a massive disservice to Marcus Wiley, Jacob Wakelin, Timmy Dieng, Ewan Williams. I thought they was all very good in that early period. How many times did Deborah have a touch and boot it out of play, or have a pass charge down, or get rushed and lose the ball? I thought the pressing was one of the bright points in the first half of the game. I mean, you can't do it relentlessly for 45 minutes. You're just not physically possible. But I thought to say that only Little was the one doing it, I thought was really, really harsh.
It's one of the things that I thought the front five were doing consistently for that half, and I think that's what was making it very difficult to Port Vale find any rhythm whatsoever. And it's also what teams have been doing to us recently as well. And I think we're doing it back, and then we're seeing results. But yeah, it was more than one player doing it, 100%. It was many of that front line doing that, and doing that consistently as well. And even when Little goes off injured and Coleman comes on, the same thing's happening. Like, they're still pressing for me, and there's still that intensity. It wasn't just one.
I thought Ethan Coleman was good yesterday. And
he was very good yesterday.
Rough start to the season, but that'll do him the world of good, because there's been a lot of stuff levelled at Ethan. Some of it unfairly for me. Like, we don't win when he starts. I know he didn't start yesterday, but he's played a massive part in that for 75 minutes.
Huge.
70 minutes yesterday for us.
And to come on and let's not kid ourselves here. He'll be aware of what people have been saying. He'll be aware he hasn't won a game yet in the league as Gillingham, and so when he comes on and gets that and is able to fall through and support that front five and play well, that's only going to improve his confidence, and hopefully we can see that Ethan Coleman that we were celebrating last season. But
absolutely, because it looks like he's going to start more games now, because Armani Little, that looks like another muscle problem, so that's a couple of weeks at least. So you're probably saying Ethan starts against Harrogate unless he gets injured in the meantime, which hopefully doesn't happen, because we've only got one trophy game and then a free weekend. But so yeah, big opportunity again, like we always say. What's the saying? I've forgotten what it is. someone's junk is another man's treasure. It's that type of thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's unfortunate
exactly.
that Armani Little picks up, but someone else has now got an opportunity to go in there, like Ewan Williams has done, and he was very good again.
Yes.
Practice makes perfect. That was my second headline.
Okay.
We weren't at our best. I think we know that. We're not going to sit here and go, that was a brilliant performance, and if we play like that the rest of the season, we're going to get promoted. Absolutely not. We don't score enough goals. I think we've got 16 in 14 in the league. That's not good enough. But when you've not won for as long as we've not won, you get back to doing what you did well at the start of the season, and that was being resolute, keeping clean sheets, and finding a way. And that's what we had to do yesterday. Port Vale weren't at their best either, so I'm not saying we played the best version of Port Vale again, but another cliche, you can only beat what's in front of you. And we did well to get ourselves over the line against a side that had only lost 2 league games in 14 before yesterday. I think credit's due again.
Absolutely 100% credit's due. It really is. And I think it's really important for any team to find a way to stop the rot, right? We were in a horrible rut and we were struggling to get out of it. And then suddenly we had the worst form in the division. You need to find something somewhere by any means, because in this situation, it isn't the means that's important. It's the end result, because that's the thing that can be the catalyst that will change everything moving forward. Because you remind everyone that we are capable of getting back on track, and we are capable of winning football matches against top of the league. So all of a sudden, everyone should rise in confidence. And yeah, credit yesterday was on everyone, the coaching staff and the players. We pulled through, and we've got 3 points to show for all of our efforts. And that, for the whole squad, can only be a positive thing.
That's it. And it's the first win in 7. So surely it only emphasises how good our start to the season was, that we've gone through that period where we've taken 4 points from 21 available. And we're still only 4 points off second.
Which is, I think, also kind of exposes how tight this league is, but also exposes that it's there for the taking as well.
Absolutely. And that's where the frustration comes again, because we know what did we say at the start of the season? If you can be in games, the Morecambe type games, the Fleetwood type games, and pick up points, it'll go a long way to where you want to be. And that's what we've got to get back to. And yesterday was an example of that. But yeah, it's a very open league. There's no sort of Wrexhams and Stockports this season. I still think there's probably 12 teams think they can win the division.
Yeah, if not more. But this is what I really like about League Two, but also by that omission, it's also very frustrating as well. Like but ultimately, the league is there for the taking. 12, if not more, teams think they can get into that top 7, and out of that, probably 10 think they can get in the top 3, and you know what? They probably can, and it's just and that's the reality of this league, and. I think it will go to the last few games of the season, if the last game is in, before we actually know who's going to be ended up properly where. I think it's going to go right down to the wire.
And to not keep using it as an excuse, because I get it that other teams have the problem as well, but we've still got a lot of good players to come back. We've still not had a settled side. We've still not seen Bradley Dack. We've not seen Aaron Rowe for 2 months. Robbie McKenzie was one of our best players for the first 2 months of the season, has not been seen for a while. Like, if we can get people, Elliot Nevitt scored 15, 16 goals last season in this division. We've still got big players to come in and have an impact. I know you're not going to get them all available at the same time, but we've still got improvements in us in terms of who we can select from, certainly in terms of what we do on the pitch. But I think with this Gillingham side, generally, apart from the last few weeks where we have gone awry, we'll give ourselves a chance, because then generally we're defensively quite sound.
Yeah, and if you look at the fact that we've only scored 16 goals but still have a goal difference of +4, I think that's that kind of, there's your evidence for that. Like, I always think defense wins.
We've conceded the least amount of goals in the whole of the top 10.
Yeah, and I think that's, for me, it's nice to score a bunch of goals, absolutely, 100%. Really, we all want that, but I think having a tidy and tight defense, it sometimes can be the difference between a team that maybe is 4th and 3rd, for example. And I think the fact that we're not conceding many is testament to our defence, and why we're still sitting 8th at the moment.
That's it, yeah. And we can't change what happened between September the 28th and last weekend. We can only go where we are from now, moving forward. And 2 weeks off, get a few players back, win at Harrogate, and suddenly things might look very, very good again. Absolutely. Right, third headline of the day, Bonner on the mark.
Very good. That was very good.
We've questioned him recently, haven't we? In terms of certainly the system against Blackpool, I questioned. I couldn't work it out last week at all. It was very, very odd. We've questioned changes in recent weeks. We've said about, I think there's been question marks about him just putting strikers on the pitch when you're chasing a game without real structure. And don't get me wrong, Mark Bonner comes out in his interviews, and there was something at the end of the game yesterday that sort of really stuck with me. He's come out every week and he's gone, we've not won in 6. It doesn't make me the worst manager in the world. Like when we'd gone top of the league after 8 games, didn't make me the best manager in the world. So he's very straight down the middle, and I like that. That meant something to her yesterday, because there was emotion yesterday as he walked around in front of all 4 stands. He was sort of conducting the orchestra in the front of the Rainham end. There was a little bit of a fist bump, a natural one, and I'd imagine that's probably relief as much as happiness, because he knows he'd been under a bit of pressure. I'm not saying pressure in terms of his job, but just pressure from himself to want us to be better and want him to be better. But I thought he got it spot on yesterday. We matched the system up. I thought it worked better with 2 natural wing backs rather than putting Jayden Clark there, who I think can do that job. But what it meant was you had 3 centre backs. Also, I mentioned at the top of the show, Rhys, that we played a 3-4-1-2. I don't think we actually did. I think we tried to play a 3-1-4-2, because in that first half, before Ethan Coleman come on, it looked like Ewan Williams was the one that was sitting. And then Little and Dieng were given licence to play higher up and press, and it worked really well. So I thought that was a really clever little tweak. And then when we had to make the change, Ewan pushed on into Marnie's position, and Ethan became the sitter. And I thought that worked really well. So he got that right. He got the shape right. He got the system right. I thought he got his substitutions right. I thought they all come on and in their own way had varying degrees of a positive impact. If you look at Jayden Clark, scored the goal. Jack Nolan, quick thinking to get the throw-in off before they're set. Ethan Coleman, solid for 75 minutes. Josh Andrews held the ball up, saw the game out. Johnny Williams, tidy with it in the middle of the park. That was all 5. And I don't think you can sit here many times this season and say all of our substitutes have been great. I mean, I know we've scored from substitutes a few times, and we did again. But certainly in recent weeks, I think substitutions have been questionable. But I thought everything about Mark Bonner's management of us and the game yesterday was absolutely spot on.
And so just to add to that further, because I agree with what you say, and also when your subs come on, they need to play for the manager as well. They need to make an impact themselves. So it's a 2-way process. And I wonder, sometimes the substitutions that come on, we could argue and say, oh, that's a wrong tactical decision. It's not the best substitution. What's the system? But actually, maybe that does exist and the players aren't matching that. But yesterday, it worked both ways and everyone had a role to play and it worked. And I think that's really, I think it's important to remember that it's a whole 2-way process. Bonner has to make those calls, but the people on the pitch have to, you have to do those roles on the pitch, right? And they have to, it's like meet me halfway kind of approach. And yesterday, everyone met each other halfway and it worked. So I think as a philosophy of playing, absolutely. Everyone's playing for each other. And I think that's really important, because I was really worried back of last few weeks that there might have been tensions and sort of maybe frustrations between all the players. And that sometimes can be really, you could be very counterproductive and it could really be eroding and abrasive. But yesterday, it just seemed everyone was doing what they were meant to be doing, including the coaching staff as well. And as a result, we pulled through. And for me, that was really important yesterday.
Absolutely. And it's the same with the fans and the players as well. And I thought the Rainham men were bloody brilliant yesterday. That second half, we were making loads of noise. And I said to Boz, I said, now it's up to the players. Give us something back. We're giving them everything. We've not seen our team win for 6 weeks. We're still backing them up and down the country. We're still loud. They gave us something back. Because they went on, they were brave enough. Because you can get to that last 10 minutes and you can just go, right, we'll settle for a clean sheet and a point here. And people will go, oh, that's not a bad result. We're out of form. We've taken a point off the league leaders. Not a bit of it. Wanted to go and win the football match. Did. Got over the line again. Final headline, and then I'm going to let you go because these are getting worse and worse. Clark, our Superman in Kent. That's the best one of the lot, isn't it? Like, nice. I mean, that's like news of the world levels of rubbish. There are other newspapers available.
Yeah, that's going to say. Yeah, but I bet I just on Clark yesterday. Is he our top scorer now? He still is. Sorry, that's just something.
Yeah, he's got 5 now, 5 and an assist. I think if we look, yeah, he's got 5 goals and 1 assist. That was for the winner at Morecambe, wasn't it? Yeah. So let me have a quick look at his stats. We got him here. So,
I'll talk amongst myself.
Here we go. We've got it. Yeah, so he's played 15 games in the league. He started 11, scored 5. assists 1. So, yeah, 6 goal contributions from 11 starts and 4 substitute appearances for a bloke who offers nothing offensively and defensively and is National League level. I did enjoy that yesterday afternoon.
It was lovely. That my favourite tweet. My favourite tweet from a footballer this season from Gillingham so far.
Yeah, that one Twitter yesterday, didn't it? X, sorry.
Yeah,
it's not
Twitter whatever anymore, it's called these days.
But you still tweet. It doesn't make sense. Sort it out, Elon.
Come on.
Sure you're watching. But yeah, another positive display from Jason Clark.
But absolute 100%. Yeah, it just comes on with confidence, has a job to do, and gets it done. I think he's just I also think he's quite a likable player as well, and I think that his personality is quite nice. There's that really nice picture as well from celebrating yesterday. It's such a good shot. As well, and running away celebrating. I think Marston's in the foreground as well. It's just great. It just looks great. It's just fantastic, and I'm really pleased that he's really shining this season and putting some stats on his career because
he's been really good. Like I think last season it was very much fits and starts. Tended to play in the cup games if we remember. Yeah. Remember about that. I was very good against Southampton. Scored at Luton. But in terms of the league, which is our bread and butter, probably wasn't up to the levels that he wanted to be. But he didn't sit and sulk. He went away and had a pre-season. And got himself in some ridiculous shape, and physically looks brilliant, and he's having an impact in football matches. Like he's scoring a goal every 197 minutes, so it's basically every 2 games.
Yeah. So
if he carries on at this rate, he's getting 15, 20 goals this season. I'm not saying it will continue, but you can only go off what we're looking at the moment, and he's been very, very good. One final stat before we wrap this one up and call full time on today's episode, and I don't think I've ever seen it in all my years watching football. Certainly since all these statistic-based apps come out and OptaScore and all that type of thing, both teams completed 288 passes yesterday.
Really?
Exactly the same amount, according to the app that I use.
I mean, did they? Was that so? It's a draw in passes completed.
Yep.
I mean. That's quite incredible. That
accurate passes each 288, exactly the same, straight down the middle.
Can I challenge that? Is that not the person?
No, you can't challenge it because then it ruins the whole stat, Rhys. What are you talking about? Like this is my big finish to the show. Yeah. Like now you just go on, ruin it. It's fine.
My challenge is the Opta stat guy in the stand was so bored by this game before. Do you know, I don't care. No one's going to read that. I have the same.
Right, we're going to call full time on this episode, and I'm not going to talk to Rhys for 5 minutes now because that was my big finish, and he's just pissed all over it. Sorry, children, if you're watching. Right, it's been great to talk about a win because it has been far too long. Rhys, it's great to have you back. I know you've had a couple of weeks off for various reasons, thank you. So thank you very much. Enjoy talking all the time, and of course, it happens to be much better when there's 3 points to discuss. Gills fans, Port Vale fans, as I always say, if you're watching at this point, thank you very much. Please keep doing them 2 things. Hit the like button and press subscribe. We are trying to get to 4K by the end of the season. It helps when we win more football matches. More people like to watch. Certainly more Gillingham fans like to watch, which is always good for a Gillingham show. We'll be back some point in the week for Gills in the pub with Jack and Rhys. So we're going to record that this week at some point because there is no game next Saturday. So content will be a little quieter over the next few days as we have a break because of Walsall's international call-ups. And then after that, we'll be back for the build-up to Harrogate. But until then, hope you've had a good weekend and up the Gills.